Hi, Cynthia.
Hey Jen, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad it's Friday today.
Me too. As I say with for those on the podcast, I'm like having that little plastic smile that you like don't quite feel, but you're bringing it on. We're both a little under the weather, so we're gonna swing it anyway.
Yeah, well, this topic I think is really interesting. It came out of one of our other episodes, which I believe it was the episode that we talked about repurposing content.
Yes.
Highly recommend you check out that one. So it's this idea of you don't need creativity in your marketing. And the reason I find this fascinating is because this is something I totally believed at the beginning of my business. I thought I had to be kind of like always creating new stuff or like thinking about it. Like creativity is this idea of like doing something maybe different, right?
Yes.
And although there is, I think we're all unique snowflakes. So that's like already there. It's opposite. It's like, how can you talk about the same thing over and over again and keep it fresh, basically? And that's what I've followed for my courses, for my podcast, for everything. And I find that people want to hear me, like they want to learn from me, obviously when it's relevant and it's true, right? Just like teaching the same thing. So, for example, for SEO, it's like keywords. That's something I could talk about forever.
It's same
And it's
same
something
with
people need.
Pinterest. So yeah, I get it. Like I get it so much.
And so I don't need to think about new stuff. I'm always looking at and playing with how can I talk about keywords in fun and different ways that people will listen and like pay attention to. But yeah, I'm curious your initial thoughts on this topic because it sprung from that other conversation.
Yeah, let's start first by saying, there's new stats, and I don't have the exact stats because that would be real helpful right now. It used to be that we would say you have to touch someone like 7 times before they actually kind of hear what you're talking about or kind of believe in you or want to work with you. And nowadays it's supposed something like 16 or 17 different touch points. And so specifically, you need to say something a ton of different ways to get it to work, right? To get your point across and add in, especially with Instagram, the fact that someone who could be following you, actually following you, and only 2 to 3% of your followers will see your posts. That's
Cool.
crazy town. That's a
Yeah.
little nuts. So, yes, we have to be super creative.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's I guess the point is that creativity is still needed, but maybe in not the ways you think it is.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
I think that's where like at the beginning I felt like I had to reinvent the wheel. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to talk about the same things that all other SEO experts talk about: keywords, content planning, algorithm updates, website structures. Like that's what SEOs talk about. But how am I talking about it in my way? I love to use analogies, and that creates a different experience. Or I like to make people laugh, or just do it in a different way that isn't so boring.
well, I mean, that's
Uh,
how you came up, I think, with your business name, right? Because you're talking about planting a seed, sort of gardening, digital being
yeah,
like you. Like, I think that is definitely how you deliver the information is always going to be different than how anyone else is going to deliver the information.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
the uniqueness. That's the creative part. But the topic, I mean, obviously you can experiment, but I recommend you go into like your competition or ChatGPT and ask it, like, what should I be talking about as a blank? And literally take that and just talk about the things you need to be talking about. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And then you can experiment with that, right? So what I do with my keyword topics is I will niche them into different industries. Like I'll talk about keywords for health and wellness, or keywords for lawyers, or keywords for, local businesses. How does that change? So there's like nuance, but I'm still always going to talk about keyword research. I mean, that topic is going to come up again and again.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's the elephant in the room, right? AI, to me, AI has helped me polish my stuff. So, like, I
Yeah.
have this idea and then it will polish it or we give a sort of an outline and then I can talk about all these things. So, using AI, I think when you don't feel creative is a great way of doing that. One
Yeah.
thing I will say that has been really helpful for me in AI, and I just taught this in my master class with my community literally this last hour, is
Mhm.
that if you know your ideal client, that is really important, but take your ideal client and maybe industry. And then you can ask AI to write down the frustrations, all these different feelings that somebody
Mhm.
feel in order to be able to have a plethora of content around everything. Because you can take one idea of how you're going to deliver it, but either you change your ideal client or you change the way that you're going to deliver it and let AI do that heavy lifting for you. You don't have to do that. Like, that's the fun part about it. And we
Yeah.
are going to have a prompts episode coming up that will dive
Yes.
into some of that. But I think it's really helpful to know that you should have these, core pillars that you talk about. For me, it's Pinterest marketing, Pinterest tips, content creation, and marketing workflow, as well as AI. Those are kind of my little pillars within
Yeah.
my blog. And take all those pillars, and you can even ask AI, you can say a statement that you make. And you can ask AI to say it in 10 different ways. Like, it
Mhm.
is so it is so much easier than people think it is, and nowadays, I feel like because of AI, you don't have to be the one that's always in the think tank trying to be creative, especially when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, it gets to be simple. It kind of crosses over into our repurposing conversation of like you get to repeat across all your channels, across all the different platforms. Also, you get to repeat, like I know you do this too, Jen, but like I'll record content for my course. And then that's what some of that actually sometimes I'll repurpose it to a podcast, like snippets of it, right? To like
Yes.
promote that. Or I'll get inspired and I'll actually do like a podcast episode on it. Or, sometimes I'll, with the SEO Season Society, I'll do demo calls and then that will go in different ways as well. So again, you don't need to be creating, and I feel like creativity is a resource you need to just watch out for, like take care of.
Yeah.
So if you're going to use it for something, use it for something correctly or like well, and not in the things like you said that AI can take care of for you or,
Yeah.
can like
Oh,
facilitate.
one tip for our watchers and listeners is that I have in my cell phone, I have my notes, your notes app in your cell phone.
Yeah,
Because for me, all of the really creative, cool ideas for my business only come when I'm not working. That's helpful,
totally.
right? They
Yeah.
say that you're most creative when you're not thinking about being creative, which is not
Yeah.
easy when you run a business. So, I could be at the park playing with my grandbabies, or I'll
Mhm.
wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have this idea. I can just put it in the notes app or write it on a notepad, like whatever your
Mhm.
process is. And then when
Mhm.
I'm going to be creating content or whatever, I will look at those notes to see these ideas and what they are, and then I can really run with them. But obviously, right when I wake up or when I'm playing with my grandkids, that's not the time to be thinking, fleshing out an idea. But make sure you have a way of capturing these creative ideas, because they tend to come to us when, in the shower. Like, it's when you're
Yeah.
doing nothing sometimes that they come.
I get them all the time in my yoga class, and it's hard because 'cause I'm like,
'Cause you're
"I
trying
need
to
to
do
remember that."
some
I'm
yoga.
like, I can't write it down, right? Like, "Wait, everybody, I'm gonna get my phone."
Exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
or in the
So,
gym. I mean, the gym is easier because I can but, like, yeah, yoga or the shower or when I'm on vacation, that one's the toughest because I'm like, I need
always.
to be not working, and then I'm like, "Oh, but this is so good," and so, you feel that,
Just ti you can
"Oh."
even use a
Yeah.
voice app. I've
Yeah.
sent Voxers to myself. So, like, you use whatever method it is, because that's twofold for you, right? One, it gets it off your mind so that you can continue doing what you're doing, whether it's
Yeah.
vacationing or yoga or whatever it is, but then you have it captured somewhere so you can go back to it when you need those creative moments for your business.
Totally. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I love that. I think it's important to like take care of your creativity. It's that like golden goose or whatever, like that thing that's giving you the golden egg. and you want to also be smart about how you see your business. And remember, like, your competition's talking about the same thing, but how they're talking about it, that's what makes you unique.
Yeah,
And so yeah.
another quick tip before we end the episode is that whoever inspires you that's in your industry, and go follow them and see what they're saying, and we never are talking about copying that. So just
Mhm.
for just a warning notification,
Mhm.
we're not copying, but you can take that idea and you can go the opposite way, right? Let's say you hear
Mhm.
something that you disagree with. That
Mhm.
content, just disagreeing, and you're not going to mention that person, but
Mhm.
just saying, XYZ is definitely not for me. I'm going to want to listen to that or read that
Yeah.
or see what they're talking about because it's against the grain. That part of creativity is not easy sometimes, but if you disagree with someone, it's super easy to say why you think that that's not correct.
Yeah. It's like a response to
And
something
social
and
media loves anytime you're going to disagree with what everyone
anything.
thinks.
Yeah, you need to make way. I mean, I've disagreed for a long time about the blog post length
Ugh,
recommendations.
I
And then, like, yeah, with Yoast, like
Oh my gosh, it's constantly perpetually orange. I don't ever even try to go for green anymore on Yoast, and
yeah,
Yoast
yeah,
is
or
a
even
blog, FYI, if you don't know what that is.
I mean, some of it is again because you might not know, but like I know yours. Jen's always sending me her search console and her SEO audit errors, and anybody else would be like, "Oh, I have thousands of errors. I guess I'm not meant for SEO." And now Jen knows it doesn't matter. Like it's so hard to explain that. I get it. It's so confusing. I ignore this thing that Google's telling me, but it's telling me
I
Google's
know.
telling me.
And I think the longer blogs, when you are forcing words that are not there, it's not good content. I mean,
No.
I'm just gonna put it out there. It's really
Yeah. No.
and it's not that, yeah, you have all the words, right? You have the word there, but then it's not flowing. So I always
Right.
say, write what you think you feel you know,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't matter where it's at. I don't even count the words anymore. If you can believe that, I'm working on
I
SEO and
believe
I
that.
don't even count the words anymore. And that's brought me happiness. I have to say. So if you're struggling with SEO, just stop.
Stop counting your words,
Just
friends. It's
focus on
okay. We
writing
will give you
science
permission.
and you'll do well.
We need to have an episode that like talks about your SEO journey. I'd be curious to hear like that full.
Yeah. That's how I found you is my in my journey, a journey of hating SEO to now obsessed with it. So, yeah, what is a journey? If you found some helpful advice, we'd obviously love for you to, subscribe to our channel, follow us on the
I like
podcast, leave a review if you like what we're talking about. And also, as I always say, send us a DM. We'll have all the information in the show notes, but send us a DM. Let us know what you're loving about it, what you would want us to cover, because we do want to provide helpful content for you.
absolutely, absolutely. That's why we want to be here. We want to help you.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Jen.